What's good, folks? Family, friends, loved ones, enemies, frenemies, wizards, witches, muggles, mudbloods, people of Middle Earth, to another episode of Disguise Coverage, the only podcast that gives you an equal amount of blueberries in each muffin, and that is presented by the best pizza in Buffalo, New York, and that is One Pie Pizza. Find the online menu in the episode show notes, whether here on YouTube or whichever podcasting app or platform you're listening to this show on. I am your host, Anthony Prohaska. Find me on Twitter at pro__ant. That's pro, 2 underscores ANT. Find me on Blue Sky at ProAnt. No underscores there, just PROANT. In tonight's episode of Disguise Coverage, this has been one that I've been meaning to get to for a bit. And with James Cook reporting to mandatory minicamp today and some contract stuff that came out the back end of last week and into the weekend, it felt like even more of an impetus to drop this episode. Also, some general housekeeping for those of you keeping track. Apologies for not doing an episode last week. I owe you multiple episodes either this week or next week. Kind of piece some things together from a podcasting schedule standpoint while also having some day job and life things, not in a bad way, but just marrying and merging all of those things. So you will get multiple weeks of multiple episodes of Disguise Coverage sometime in June. It could be this week, could be next. I don't know, but keep your ears to the ground and you will stay tuned. But this James Cook episode, just recent news was kind of the impetus for it. It's been something that I've had on my mind really since K. Amori says, at least we aren't in a Dolphins or Bengals situation. That's very fair. This episode has been something that really was on my mind throughout the year as he, not in some big like foreshadowing type of way, but as James Cook continued to impress, and I thought he improved in several areas that I wasn't expecting him to improve, like even though the metrics don't really weigh it out, but his yards after contact and some of his power and contact balance that he showed this year. I thought we saw very much improved James Cook in 2024 than the version we saw in 2023 and the version we saw in 2022. And that's what you want to see with a player that you draft. You want to see them make incremental improvements or marginal improvements or significant improvements, something to maintain an upward trajectory to show that, hey, they're starting to put things together. Hey, they're starting to improve. This is awesome. Like now we can keep this homegrown talent and continue to find success. And maybe they continue to develop or they just have success in the system. It's a win-win. But with the running back position, it's a bit of a catch-22 for running backs themselves. And even if you're a fan of the running back position or a fan of James Cook or a fan of running backs in general, we've gotten to this spot where the positional value for running back, and this isn't really news or revelatory information, the positional value for running back is not tremendously high right now. We are several years removed from Cole Kmet essentially making the same, if not more money, I believe, than Saquon Barkley. And so it's, in no disrespect to Cole Kmet, but Saquon Barkley was still an elite running back, even though he had the injury concerns. You could make the case that maybe his cost was, knocked down a bit because of the injury concerns. And not that Cole Kmet's a bad tight end, but just where he is amongst tight ends versus where Saquon Barkley is amongst running backs, those things just kind of don't add up. And we're still in that period for the running back position. Saquon Barkley has gotten paid. Derrick Henry has gotten paid. We saw what the Niners gave Christian McCaffrey. And so we're starting to see some guys get paid a little bit here and there, but on the large, the running back position is not one that is tremendously valued, especially compared to what it was in, I don't know, even throughout the 2000s, but especially the 90s, the 80s, the 70s, so on and so forth. Where a lot of offenses went through the run game. They went through the running back, so on and so forth. And so you have this guy in James Cook who is somebody you spent a second-round pick on, who is arguably the second best player on your offense, not named Josh Allen. I think it would be between like him and Deion Dawkins or Spencer Brown. If we're talking like everything holistically, if we're talking about just pure weapons, it's between Cook and Shakir. And I think Shakir is awesome, but I mean, Cook is just a standout running back. I think you can have that battle a little bit if you wanted to kind of have that argument with yourself. That'd be a fun discussion. But Cook at worst is arguably one of the best players on the Bills offense. And it's not by default. It's because he's a good player. And granted, they're not a loaded offense in terms of top tier, A-tier talent on the offensive side of the ball. And so this is something, like I said, that was kind of just in my mind throughout the season. You have this player that you drafted and you spent a second round pick on who's on a rookie deal and he continues to improve. And that should be a thing that's like, oh, that's awesome. Like, can't wait to see them pay him, or will they pay him? But then it was kind of almost like, well, he's a running back. Running backs don't get second contracts, yada, yada. Then we get to the Chiefs game in the playoffs, and he plays pretty well. Doesn't see the ball a ton in the second half, or necessarily even in the game as much as he should have, especially with how Josh Allen struggled through a good chunk of that game, especially in the beginning. I thought they'd go to the run game, specifically Cook, a little earlier. Joe Brady did not. That's a conversation for another time. But you end the year on that note with Cook having some really strong plays against the Chiefs and one not great pass pro rep that some people like to focus on. And then we go into this offseason, and we have some comments from his brother. We have some comments from him, and things have been kind of just creeping up little by little, depending on where the news cycle is, where the offseason cycle is. Sometimes it's big news. Sometimes it's swept under the rug or overshadowed a little bit by whatever else is going on. And so, again, I say all this to say I've been meaning to kind of get to this episode, but other things have been more important or have taken prominence. But now we're starting to get to a spot where I think we can kind of have this conversation, especially with James Cook reporting to mandatory minicamp today. And I'm going to switch the banner here that follows in line with the episode titled The Buffalo Bills and James Cook, Value, Role, Skill Set, and More. Also, as I normally mention on the show, I mentioned on the socials, questions, thoughts, comments, concerns, anything you folks have in regards to James Cook, or honestly anything with the Bills, put it up into the chat. I will pull up anything and everything as much as I physically can. Super chats, as always, get priority because I respect the monetary donation and because I see the color and it attracts my eyes and pulls me away from my notes. I see some conversation going back and forth already. It looks like two people are arguing, which is it's just awesome. So, put questions, thoughts, comments, concerns, put them up into the chat. I will bring them up as much as humanly possible throughout the show. Some of you have already mentioned in the chat that he being James Cook, and I mentioned this as well, that he reported to mandatory minicamp. RJ even said this, I'm actually surprised Cook is practicing, let alone here for OTAs. Maybe there is a contract in the future for him. Yeah, Cook was asked about it today. He got drilled with questions for maybe like 6 minutes, 7 minutes. It's up on the Bills YouTube, but he was kind of standard James Cook, quiet, stoic, just short, kind of direct answers that didn't really give you much. But goes about it in a way where, okay, maybe he's just quiet and reserved, or is it like, is he upset? Is he angry? Maybe he kind of is. Is there something to read into here? But nothing really nuts. In relation to RJ, what you said, I think someone asked him something along the lines of, how come you're here? Why did you show up today? And Cook was straight up like, because I like money, or I like getting paid, essentially in a reference to being fined if he wasn't showing up to mandatory minicamp. So, I don't know how that makes anybody feel, but that was his answer. I'm paraphrasing, but it essentially was, referencing that if he's not there, he's going to get fined and he doesn't want to lose money. So he's going to show up. But he is there. And you can check out that interview today from Bill's mandatory minicamp. Again, not a lot of details. We've known this for years. He is not a very chatty guy on the mic in any way, shape, or form. Like he's just very reserved. He's quiet. He goes about his business a lot. And a lot of his comments too today at mandatory minicamp were, whether it was him just given the right answer to give the right answer or not, but everything for him was just, I'm not focused on it. My feet are on the ground here. So that's what I'm focused on, just working hard, getting better, and they were trying to feed him questions, what are you looking for in camp? Or, how focused are you on the contract? And he was just like, I'm just here to work, get better every day. I want to win, hey, do you want to be here long-term? Of course, I want to win a Super Bowl here. That's my goal. Hey, are you upset to see some other running backs that were getting paid this offseason and you weren't? He was like, no, why would I be upset at, my peers doing well? Like that doesn't have anything to do with me. I'm focused on myself, just trying to get better, so on and so forth, kind of rinse and repeat answers and actions from James Cook. And so I wanted to lead with that. It's kind of the table setter, just in case people didn't catch that, or if you had thoughts on it, feel free to put it up in the chat. I'm going to go backwards into the chat a little bit now and take a peek at some of the comments, start to pull some things through. And as I do that, give you a little intro for this episode, or kind of an idea of what we're going to do in this episode. Got some advanced metrics that I want to talk about with relation to James Cook, also some Ray Davis stuff. Also going to be talking about some scheme and structure stuff, James Cook's specific fit in this offense, how his skill set ties and aligns with the role that, the Bills running backs have in this offense. And then just talk about what he means and how easy it would be to replace him, or how not easy it would be to replace him. I thought about doing some film for this episode just in case anybody, had that in their back of their mind or wants to ask, but we've been getting dinged for film in random spots, and I didn't want to deal with the complications of it. But I post a ton of his tape on socials again. So if you want that, find me on Twitter at pro__ant or get on Blue Sky at PROANT. So pro__ant on Twitter, pro ant on Blue Sky. No underscores there. Okay. Connor says, I never thought Cook was the type of person to cause drama like in a holdout. Happy Wolverine says, if Bosa is worth 12 and a half and Cook is way, way, way more important than him, then what? With a question mark and exclamation point. I think it really comes down to, is Cook way, 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 way more important given the positional value of an edge and what Bosa can be if he's healthy? Granted, the injury muddies the whole thing for Bosa, and his injury history muddies it, but defining importance, I think, is a significant part of that. Lou says, we're seeing the true difference makers be paid well. It hasn't really seeped outside of that much. I think it's a fair point. I think also kind of tied into all of this, whether rightly or wrongly, the way Cook has gone about it, or about his contract demands, and we're going to get into the contract specifics. It's the first thing I'm going to lead off here. I have a graphic breaking down some of the running back market and contract values and stuff. But whether rightly or wrongly, it feels like he could have gone about this a better way. And especially with how the Bills came off of the Stephon Diggs situation last year and trading Diggs out of the blue and kind of significantly hurting themselves at the wide receiver position and having to adjust accordingly, but knowing that they were going to hurt themselves and do it anyway. It just seems like kind of causing a stir isn't the best recipe for success for being here long-term or kind of getting what you want from this regime and this organization. And then especially looking at the guys who got paid this offseason, guys like Greg Rousseau and Terrell Bernard and Christian Benford and Khalil Shakir. It's all guys who just show up and do their work. I'm not saying if Cook didn't say anything that he would have gotten rewarded with an extension. I'm just saying the way he's gone about it, I don't think has helped his case necessarily, given, again, how the Bills have traditionally done business, his positional value already not helping him, and then the Bills coming off of the Stephon Diggs situation. It's just, I just feel like he could have gone about this a little better. Happy Wolverine, I'm sensing a pattern here that you're big time into James Cook and probably want him to get an extension. Happy Wolverine says, Cook is durable as F. Nice there. Fast as lightning and a serious weapon. The best back that we've had since Freddie. Oh, okay. Music blogger 87 says, oh, this is too Happy Wolverine saying, you're thinking with your heart, not your head. Cook is worth 10 mil a year, not 15 or 20 mil a year. Fair enough. Okay. Oh, James says it's ant season. Appreciate you, James. Thank you very much for being here. Oh, Joe, in relation to the Bosa comment saying Bosa is only on the hook for one season. That is a fair point. K. Mori says Cook is awesome. I don't think he'll get a top of the market contract, at least not from the Bills. And then Joe follows up with his Bosa is only on the hook for one season comment and says, so you can front load and stomach 12 and a half a bit easier knowing you aren't on the hook. I think that's fair. James says Jimbo wants a ring. Just the typical news says, I don't see James Cook having a Broadway career when he's finished with football. That's fair. So I think with all this contract conversation, I'm going through the comments, seeing more of these. And this is a good comment from Roy saying, with possible extensions for Connor McGovern and or Torrance looming after this season, how much is Bean willing to spend on a running back? Very fair. And David Edwards is a UFA next year. So do you want to save some of that Cook money and keep this offensive line together for another year, another 2, maybe another 3, depending on how you allocate it? Do you use some of that money to go after another edge next year? Because I think whether Bosa succeeds or not this year, he's only got to be here for 1 year. Does the interior of the defensive line work? Because Larry Ogunjobi's on a 1-year deal. You got to find somebody to fill his spot next year, either in free agency or the draft. Are you looking to fill Matt Milano's spot? Are you looking to fill a safety spot, depending on what's going on? So there are some other questions that, $15 or $20 million a year that Cook is asking for. That money could go to other places significantly. And if it came down to like keeping the offensive line intact or keeping James Cook, I do like James Cook, but I would choose to keep the offensive line intact. Want to pull up. So a lot of the conversation here is going back and forth with everybody talking about the money and like this money isn't that bad or 15 million isn't that bad. So I want to pull this up. This is a graphic courtesy of Over the Cap, who does really awesome work with their just salary cap stuff in general, but especially when it comes to like the user interface and how everything looks and how clean and nice this is. So this is the top, I think it's 20 running backs. Somebody feel free to count it for me and tell me if I'm wrong. The top 20 running backs in the NFL by average annual value of their contract. So it's not filtered by that first column of total value. It is filtered by average annual value. While you folks look at that, oh, I want to stop. Roy says the tree looks good in gold. I appreciate you for that, Roy. I'm actually going to pause. I'm going to remove this real quick. Thank you. Shout out to Roy there. Noticing the tree. Yeah, got a little bit of yellow on top and then some gold and some silver garland underneath there. There's no major holidays in June. I don't really know what to do for June. I debate on different things. So I just go with kind of like a summery feel. The yellow lays on top and then some gold and some silver on the bottom. So I thought that was fun. Appreciate you for noticing. Thank you very much, Roy. All right, let's go back to the stage. All right. So I also want to say this, while you folks look at this, I want to say I am all in favor of James Cook getting paid, whether it's with Bills, whether it's somebody else. I think professional athletes in general, but especially in the NFL, your shelf life is so short. Regardless of the position, your next snap could literally be your last on the practice field, on the game field, whatever. So I have no problem with anybody chasing the bag at any point in time. I do not care. I would love for guys on teams that I like or guys in general to do the hometown discount thing or to do the thing that helps benefit the team so they can pay it forward, takes less money so that money can go somewhere else so they can try to win a championship. I get it. Ha, nice. Naheem Hines reference from KMOR saying your last snap could be on a jet ski. Also true. You literally, but all jokes aside, like you never know when your NFL career is going to end. You have no idea. Even look at, he came back from it, but Ricky Pearsall got shot last year before he even took a snap on the field as a rookie. Like you have no idea when your career is going to be done. So I have no problem with anybody trying to secure as much financial security for themselves and or their families whenever they can. And if Cook thinks that this is when his value is the highest and this will be his best chance to chase as much money as he can, I got no problem with him doing that. He could go about it maybe a better way potentially, but I have no problem if his thought and end goal is I want to get paid as much as I can. Do you? Like, I got no problem with the dude chasing the bag. It's unfortunate, for teams that might be strapped a little with cash and want to keep a player like that. But if you can't, you can't. I got no problem with the dude chasing the bag. I just want to put that out there. I do not care. If he wants $15 million a year, God bless him, go after it. If he wants 20, God bless you, go after it. And also, who knows? For as much as we're saying he could have gone about this better, maybe some team out there gives him $17 million a year or something that we're like, oh, no one's going to pay him that. All it takes is one team to overpay and give you that money, and boom, he's good and he's set and he gets what he wanted. So if that's what he values over anything, cool. Do you? And God bless you. But this is the rankings for several running backs here in terms of average annual value. Now, there's been multiple reports. Earlier in the offseason, it was reported that Cook was looking for about $15 million a year. So you can see where that puts him in the conversation. Some reports have also said that he's looking for about $20 million per year. That you can also see where that puts him in the chart. Either way, even if we start with the lower amount, if we start with the $15 million per year, that would put him into the top tier of running backs in the NFL from an average annual value standpoint. And for those of you listening at home, I will give you those numbers. Saquon Barkley sits at the top with $20.6 million annually. Christian McCaffrey is second at 19. Derrick Henry is third at 15. Jonathan Taylor of the Colts is fourth at 14. So if Cook got $15 million a year, he would be tied for the third highest paid running back in the NFL. If he got $20 million per year, he would be tied for second. Or no, he wouldn't be tied for second. He would be second between Christian McCaffrey, who would then be third, and Saquon Barkley at first. I personally, and I like James Cook a lot, and I'm going to tell you why as we go forward in this episode. I think both of those rumors and or reports are a bit too rich, if we're being honest, or for at least my estimation. If I had to give James Cook a contract extension, or if I'm offering him a deal, I'm going to try and get him for as low as possible because I'm trying to do what benefits the team. But I could see him realistically getting money anywhere from like the David Montgomery or Ramondre Stevenson tier where you're making 9 to 9.1 million a year, I could see him getting anywhere from that up to where Alvin Kamara is at 12.25 million a year. I think the sweet spot for him is the Joe Mixon, Aaron Jones kind of range. I could see him, and for those of you, again, listening only, Joe Mixon has an average annual value of 9.875. Aaron Jones is right even at $10 million per year. I could see Cook getting a 3 for 30, a 2 for 20, a 2 for 18, a 2 for 19, something like that. I don't think he's going to get the term that he wants. If he gets that average per year, I think it would be more on a short-term deal. Again, the running back market in general, teams aren't shelling out cash for running backs. First and foremost, they're not shelling out cash. Second of all, they're not shelling out term. So you're not going to get, even if you say he wants $15 million a year, I think he's more likely to get a 1-year, $15 million contract than he is a 2-year 30, and definitely more than a 3-year 45. Like, you're not going to get the term and the money you want, which is really interesting for his contract, wants or demands according to the rumors, because if he wants that much, I don't think you're going to get the term. And so does that money offset the term depending on how much of it is guaranteed? Do you feel better getting 15 in 1 year instead of getting 20 over 2? How does that what happens to you in the 1 year that you get the 15? Do you get another significant deal, or do you start to plateau? Do you get worse? Do you get hurt? There's so many pros and cons, again, which is why I have no problem with any dude chasing the bag in any shape, point in time. But I do think that tier of 9 million a year to 12 and a half, somewhere in that range, is fair game for James Cook, given the production that he's had. And I still do think he's on an upward trajectory. Now, there are some questions in pass protection, and there are some questions, for me, in terms of being a complete back that ties into, in addition to what his skill set is. But I would have no problem giving him, especially with a good offensive line. But again, now you can kind of play devil's advocate and be like, well, with a good offensive line, any running back could kind of run behind that line. I think that David Montgomery to Aaron Jones really is the sweet spot for me. 9 million a year, 10 million a year. I would be fine giving him 8 million a year, 9 million a year, because I do value him. And I do think he adds more of a boost to this offense than he gets credit for. Especially since he had these demands and all the fans have kind of knocked him. Not all the fans, but a lot of fans have knocked him for it and kind of overplayed how bad some of the negative aspects of his game are and kind of downplayed some of the positives. But I thought I wanted to start out with this graph to kind of show you folks where we are in the running back tiers from an average annual value standpoint. And also, if you're looking at it, also too, James Conner is awesome. I just want to put that out there. Like, James Conner is a fantastic running back, does not get talked about enough in Arizona. I really love what the Cardinals do offensively and defensively from a schematic standpoint, and several of their players. That conversation is neither here nor there. But yeah, you're looking at this deal potentially, and you're looking at all the names. Like, should he get paid more than, and not even paid more, but if you play the would you rather have James Cook or Ramondre Stevenson or David Montgomery or James Conner or Joe Mixon or Aaron Jones or Josh Jacobs or Alvin Kamara or Jonathan Taylor or Derrick Henry or Christian McCaffrey or Saquon Barkley? Even if you want to go a little below Ramondre, Ashton Genty's there at 8.973 this year, but he's on his rookie deal, first round pick, high type of pick. And then below Genty, Chuba, DeAndre Swift, Tony Pollard, Devin Singletary, Bijan Robinson, again, another dude on the rookie deal, Jalen Warren of the Steelers, Jordan Mason, and then Najee Harris. So again, you kind of play this game, you look at this type of list, figure out what type of tier he falls in for you, where you feel comfortable paying him. I realistically, again, could see him getting anywhere between 9 and 12 million per. I think the sweet spot is 9 to 10, like 9.5, 10.5, maybe. And for me, I'd be fine paying him 8.5 to 9.5. I'd even go 10. If he signed a 1-year 10, I'd be okay with it. I would take him back for that. I don't mind giving him some money, but on a shorter term. I'm not going to commit long-term to a running back that I do think has limitations. You have to be a special kind of running back, for me personally, to get a long-term commitment. You have to be Saquon. You have to be a force multiplier and a game changer in almost every form and fashion. And if you're not in all the areas, then you're just so good in a couple. Like, Saquon is a game changer in every form and fashion. Christian McCaffrey, game changer in every form and fashion. Derrick Henry, you know what you're getting with Derrick Henry, but he's so good at the thing that you know you're getting that it just doesn't matter, and you're okay with it. Jonathan Taylor, good in a lot of forms of fashions. Kamara, one of the best contact balance running backs I've ever seen. And then as a receiver, as a runner, even as a pass protector, Josh Jacobs finally got paid, a bit underrated. I've liked Aaron Jones for a while. Joe Mixon does a lot of good, varied things. Connor, I've already talked about as being underrated. Montgomery has shined since he's gone to the Lions. But again, kind of focusing that in. So just think of the tiers, who makes what, how they make it, all that type of thing. I'm going to leave this up for people to look at. And we go. Music blogger says, give Cook 300 carries this year and let him walk, draft his replacement next year. I think that's fair. And I also think that's possible. I mean, they did it with Motor and Moss with each other Motor with Moss and then kind of Motor, both guys with more backs that they brought in, and then Cook kind of doing it for Motor after. Coco Mung says, home run speed is more valuable than running backs get credit for. Absolutely. He has speed, vision, and top end speed. That is legitimately rare. I agree. We're going to talk about that in a bit. Music blogger says, so my $10 million per year comment would put him at 8th overall. Not bad. No, I mean, you get paid like a top 10 back, which I think is good. He just wants to be paid like a top 2 or a top 3 or 4. And I think that's a little much. Lou says, as much as people are, parentheses, rightfully talking about Cook's speed, his tackle breaking / patience that he demonstrated in 2024 is what's making me consider if he should be paid or not. Excellent comment. I will be talking about that in a bit. Joe says, I'm A-okay with putting Cook right in that Jacobs Kamara bracket, even 1 million higher. I wouldn't pay him more than Kamara or Jacobs, but I could understand someone else paying him more than Kamara or Jacobs, which I think is fair. Roy says, I'll never blame a player for trying to get paid, whether we agree with the amount or not. That is fair. James says, question, if Cook has a career year, 1,400 rushing, 70 catches, do we franchise him? I don't think so. What else? Cam Morey says, I think somebody will give him Josh Jacobs money. That's fair. Curtis says, 18 touchdowns is a lot of touchdowns. Yes, he did have a lot of touchdowns. And a bunch, not bunch, but several were like explosive touchdown runs, like 65 yards, 49 yards, 50, like good chunk yardage, not just like, oh, he's inside the 5. It was well blocked and he kind of fell in the end zone. So he earned a lot of those touchdowns. Well, he earned everything, but he quote unquote earned a lot of them with the long distance and his skill set playing into it. But I just personally wouldn't use touchdowns as like a barometer of what a good running back is or not. Just because there's so much that goes into like getting like who or what got the offense down into the spot for them to score. Where do the touchdowns come from? Are they inside the 5, inside the 10? How many of them are 20 plus, 30 plus, 40 plus, so on and so forth? But I do think he earned a good chunk. And I do think a majority of his touchdowns are reflective of his skill set. He made a lot of his touchdowns work. He made the unblocked defender miss. He beat somebody around the corner and got to the pylon or got to the edge when it wasn't blocked for that, but his speed made the difference. His vision made the difference. His footwork made the difference. And that's just some of the ones like inside the red zone and the low red zone. That's not even talking about like the 49-yard touchdown against the Dolphins in week 2, or I think the 65-yarder in the snow against the Niners. He was pulling out a lot of big touchdown runs. Spin says, game changers who? Oh, in terms of running backs. Barkley, CMC, Henry, Taylor, is Kamara, and Jacobs. I think Alvin Kamara is a game changer at the running back position. I think that's where it starts to, like, in terms of like hard and fast game changers, Kamara is where I start to draw the line. Jacobs is close, though. I think Jacobs is a really good running back. And just how he fits into a gap scheme, plus even zone as well, I think is significantly important. But I mean, he played so good with the Raiders for years when they were terrible, and then was another boon for the Packers. Aaron Jones. Man, Aaron Jones is so electric. I don't think, but he's also like a deep threat, and you get him on a rail route. I would hard and fast line, I would draw it at Kamara for sure. I think you could make a case for Jacobs or Jones being game changers, but I would hard and fast, I'd draw the line at Kamara. So Saquon, CMC, Henry, Taylor, Alvin Kamara. I also think, if we're just going from the top, but I also think Bijan Robinson is a definite game changer, and I also think Ashton Genty is in there. Yeah, so that's fair. So I would say a hard 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I would say the top 5 are game changers. So is Bijan Robinson's. So is Bijan Robinson. So is Ashton Genty. Ha! Nick says, Ant told me he secretly wants the tank for Jeremiah Love instead of paying Cook. Yo, man, Jeremiah Love, running back for Notre Dame. Long speed. He's got some power. Playing with a brace on his leg in the playoffs and carrying defenders into the end zone and breaking tackles. Man, that boy can play. Yeah, Love is a sweet one. Love is a sweet one. What else? Roy says, from the sounds of it, I don't think Cook would take $10 million a year. It's all going to depend on the market. I think he's going to test free agency, and then we go from there. Who knows? Maybe no one offers him above 9. Maybe no one offers him above 11. And so he's like, okay, I'll go with the best team that offered me 10. We don't know until he gets to the market. Maybe there is a team out there that pays him 15 or gets close to 15 or gets close to 20. I don't think 20 is going to happen, but maybe gets close to 15. We'll see. Timbo says Cook seems like he's got good character, is well liked in the locker room, and has done everything the Bills asked. I think that's fair. Connor says, I think Jacobs did change the Packers offense in a very positive way. Absolutely. Their gap scheme runs just started hitting a lot more with his power and his body control and how he's built with the speed and like the short area burst and explosion. Yeah, man. Yeah. Oncy Music Blogger says, did you guys watch his press conference? He seemed unhappy. See, but this is what I mentioned earlier. I don't know if he seemed unhappy or that's also just kind of par for the course for how James Cook is. Like, he's been that way since he came in the league. It's like, hey, you got drafted. How do you feel? And he's like, yeah, I feel good. I'm happy to be in the NFL. And you're like, oh, okay. That's just kind of how he's always been. Joe says, I'm a huge fan of Hubbard, not elite, but deserves a lot more shine. I hope he gets some more shine. I also think Bryce Young played well down the stretch in some of the Panthers tape I've watched. And that wasn't talked about enough. I also like Jalen Coker. So shout out to the Panthers offense. Spin says, how is Genty a game changer? What game has he changed in the NFL? He hasn't yet. He hasn't played in the NFL. I believe in his projection because of his play style and his skill set. So I would consider him a game changer. The type of skill set that he has, the traits that he has. Again, I know that he hasn't done in the NFL yet, and it's all projection, but I'm a believer in his projection. I just think the tape was very strong. His skill set, him doing it against top-tier talent and defenses, even when everybody and their mother knew he was the focal point of the offense and he was getting the ball, just the vision, the pace, the contact balance. His contact balance is almost, I mean, like Kamara is an alien when it comes to his contact balance. But Genty's is up there, man. And that's a significant compliment coming from me, at least. So I think Genty's got game. I'll say game changer potential if it makes you feel better. But I just think his skill set is tremendous. We'll see what he can do with the Raiders with how they've been built. But yeah, I think Genty has game changer potential. I'll say because he hasn't done it yet in the NFL. But fair point. I said, I don't know how many teams would pay for that. Billy D says the Cowboys would. The Cowboys would pay James Cook. Jerry Jones would give Cook $19 million a year. Oh, Joe's mad happy. He says, yes, and I got him from Greg in our league. I am here for him and proud. Oh, boy, Jalen Coker. Yeah, I thought I wanted the Bills to get him as an UDFA out of Holy Cross. They did not, but conversation for another time. So that's the contract situation, right? Kind of put that into perspective, taking a peek at what these guys make in terms of the running backs, what the market looks like, what Cook is rumored to want, kind of see what that would look like in terms of the projection, just having that conversation. As far as what Cook is, I want to talk about what he is before we get to some of the numbers, because I do think, and I'm going to talk out of both sides of my mouth a little bit here, I do think the Bills' offensive line is the engine that drives the Bills. They are a strong group. They pass protect well. They're versatile in the run game. They can block gap scheme. They can block zone. They are physical, yet athletic. They've got good combinations of skill sets and traits in different quantities across the board, across the starters. Everybody can do a little bit of something like the other, but also different. Like the sliders are tuned up and twitched in different ways, or tweaked in different ways, I should say. So the offensive line is very important. And I do think most running backs would have success behind this offensive line and with this run game and with the run scheme. That being said, I do think James Cook played above the scheme and did a lot more from an individual level than gets credit for in 2024. There are, just those duo runs that Eric and I have broken them down in the film room. I've showed them here in Disguise coverage. I've showed them on Twitter. those runs where it's designed to get that unblocked defender. And he even did it going back to 2023 when Dorsey was running the offense before Brady took over. Cook's ability to function on duo and just know where that unblocked defender is going to be and make him miss. If it's a corner, he showed the ability in 2024 that, okay, cool, I can run through that guy. Or he's still fast enough to run past a corner. If it's a linebacker, he can shake him and get through him a little bit because he's got some wiggle, ran with a bit of better pad level this past year, had some better yards after contact in 2024, which I want to talk about. The speed and the juice that is there with the displacement that the Bills' offensive line creates. I'm talking about both horizontally and vertically. Their ability to take guys and move them out of gaps left and right, and their ability to take guys and displace them vertically and knock them back several yards. His speed and his pace allows him to eat up those yards, those available free yards, eat them up very quickly. Now, yes, you could say on the other side, well, if the offensive line's creating space, anybody can eat up those free yards. Sure. But his juice and his pace and his decisiveness, especially the kind that he showed in 2024, allows him to take more advantage of that space that the Bills offensive line creates. And then the scheme versatility that he started to show. Again, he was this zone runner in college, really had a good feel for pressing that line, letting the hole develop, and then flowing like water wherever he needed to. If he needed to stay front side, he'd stay front side. If he needed to cut back one hole or two or three, he could. If he needed to cut all the way back across the grain and get outside the tackle box, he could. He had that feel. He had that speed. But the gap scheme stuff was, his timing was off a little bit. It was almost like he got a little bit too ahead of himself, wouldn't let the blocks develop. We saw significant change in that year over year with the Bills, and then even more so in 2024. This offensive line, again, is the straw that stirs the drink in a lot of ways, but the schematic diversity that the Bills run game had in 2024, and really that they've had for the past couple of years, that weak side mid-zone run, duo, and then all the tackle pull stuff, whether it's dart or whether it's tackle long trap, they ran some GT counter, they ran some power, they're doing things out of spread against light and neutral boxes, they're doing stuff out of condensed formations with 6 offensive linemen and multiple tight ends, or Reggie Gilliam on the field, and they're going heavy and they're running stuff. His pacing, his vision, the way he started to set up his blocks and let things start to breathe and develop and pace and then step on the gas and hit the hole. I think he's really started to develop as a runner. And for as good as the offensive line is, and again, if I had to pay James Cook or pay multiple members on the offensive line to keep them together, I would pick the offensive line option. But I do think the replaceable aspect of this conversation, like, oh, it's fine, you could plug anybody in there. It's fine, you could plug in Ray Davis right now. It's fine, you could plug in Ray Davis and Ty Johnson and they can do the job. It's fine, you can draft anybody. I don't think it's as easy as that. I don't want to pay him $15 million a year. I don't want to pay him $20 million a year. But James Cook on tape made a significant difference for this run game. Again, even just in some of, I'm trying to think, the first Chiefs game or the second, the low red zone touchdown, not the sick one in the AFC Championship where he essentially makes the play happen himself and reaches across the goal line on, 4th and 1. I'm thinking the other one, I think it was at the first game when they were at home against the Chiefs, where he gets a carry to the right and it's not blocked and he just beats Chenal to the outside. Like, the play isn't really blocked and he's like, I'll do something, and he scores. And he does that all the time. Like, he makes something out of nothing because of the speed, the vision, the decisiveness. I don't think it's necessarily easy to replicate any of those pieces, right? It's not easy to get a running back with the kind of speed, long and short-term burst, both that he has, let alone have a guy who has that, plus the vision, plus the decisiveness, plus the ability to function in both gap and zone schemes. That's a hard thing to just replicate. Like, oh yeah, you just get another fast running back, it'll be fine. I just don't think it's that simple. Is it impossible? No. But I do think Cook deserves more flowers than he's being given credit for. I think during the season it was all like, man, Cook is awesome. Cook is sick. This is great. And then reports started to come out that he really wanted to get paid. And I feel like everybody was like, oh, well, he's not that good anyway. And I know I'm using hyperbole and not everybody thinks that way, but I do think he deserves more appreciation than he gets. As a receiver, yes, there are some drops. There's that one against Jacksonville, but he also, I still think he's a weapon in the pass game, whether it's as a, up the sideline on those rail routes or those wheel routes, or him just finding space as a check down guy. He started to get better rhythm with Allen, get into the soft spots, getting on the same page with Allen, crossing his eyes, helping in the scramble drill, or helping as a check down guy, or even that crazy off script throw that Allen makes to Cook against the Lions, where Allen's rolling to his left and Cook comes open and Allen fires sidearm, opens up to his right and fires it in there. That's a crazy alien throw from Allen, but Cook also like runs a route after the scramble drill. Like Cook pretends like he fakes like he's going up the sideline and then he cuts it back inside to get open for Allen. Like he does have an impact on the game as a receiver. Now, again, you can play devil's advocate and say, well, Ray Davis has had some great pass catching moments. Ty Johnson has had some great pass catching moments, which is both of those things are fair. I just think Cook's ability and his usefulness and his role, what he means to the offense and his skill set are being a bit downplayed by the fan base. Again, I'm not saying he deserves $50 million a year. I'm not saying he deserves 20. I would not give him that, but he's better than he gets credit for. That for me is what makes the conversation so hard, because I do think he's a very valuable piece for this offense. I do think he's a piece that you can't just easily drop in another guy and replace that production. I do think you'd have to tweak some of your rates in terms of calls or designs or concepts. You have to tweak some things because, again, his speed does make a difference. Again, you just on those duo runs alone, you have that designed unblocked defender. And usually it's a corner or nickelback. Sometimes it can be the safety, but usually it's a corner, that nickelback. It'll be on that outside, but depending on how the scheme develops, sometimes you got to hit it up inside. Sometimes they gum up the works inside, and you got to bounce that thing outside. Cook has the speed to just bounce it outside, turn the corner, and bang. Like make a difference consistently, even when you know it's coming. There's even the one against the Ravens this past year in the playoffs where he cuts a run back. Marlon Humphrey is slow playing it on the backside, like watching for the cutback. Like he doesn't shoot down the line. He doesn't scrape over the top. Like he's waiting for the cutback. And Cook still hits the cutback and gets across his face, and Humphrey reaches out and he just gets Cook by a piece of his dreads, and Cook just runs right through it and keeps on going. I think he's better than he gets credit for right now. I think he's being downplayed a bit. I don't think, again, what he wants, I think is a bit unrealistic for the Bills. And even for me, like if I'm a GM, I'm not paying him that. But I do think he's better than he gets credit for, which is, again, is what muddies this whole conversation. Now, some numbers. I'll just read these in order. I'll read them slow for those of you, well, I'm not showing them on the screen. For those of you listening only and not watching, I don't have anything on the screen. I'm just reading them. So James Cook in 2024, I've got some James Cook numbers, and then I've got some James Cook and Ray Davis comparison numbers. So James Cook amongst 46 running backs with at least 100 carries in 2024. Again, 46 running backs with at least 100 carries this past season. He was 8th in EPA per attempt. He was 7th in EPA, 26th in broken tackles plus missed tackles forced per attempt, and he was 8th in yards per attempt. That was per Sports Info Solutions. Per PFF, their advanced metrics, there were 47 running backs that qualified. I don't know how there's a discrepancy there, but he was 11th in yards before contact per attempt and 14th in yards after contact per attempt. Explosive runs between he and Ray Davis. I thought this was very funny. Actually, no, one more before I go into there. James Cook's yards after contact per attempt in 2024, 3.3 yards after contact per attempt in 2024. It was 2.7 in 2023 and 2.9 in 2022. So he improved versus his rookie year, versus last year, and especially versus 2023, over a half yard more after contact per attempt. And I know that doesn't seem, oh man, it's a half yard. What does that matter? That's the kind of the difference between like 2nd and 5 and almost 2nd and 4, or a 3rd and 1 versus 3rd and inches, or, actually getting spotted as a first down. That matters. So the 3.3 yards after contact per attempt. And I think that matches a bit with the improvement we saw. I don't think he's ever going to be Derrick Henry, where he's just running through shoulders and running through dudes' chests. But you saw more of a physical presence to James Cook's running game in 2024. He was running through some shoulders. He was running through arm tackles. He was breaking some stuff and falling forward a lot. It took multiple guys to bring him down. And especially around the goal line, some of those touchdowns, he was finishing through contact with authority to cross the goal line. So Wanted to put that out there for his yards after contact per attempt in overall with his holistic numbers. Now, some James Cook and Ray Davis pieces. James Cook, 28 explosive runs on 269 attempts in 2024. And I want to confirm a number. And these, I would say, I want to confirm because people define explosive runs differently by the site. So these are runs of 10 or more yards. These explosive runs. This is per PFF. Show. So James Cook, 28 explosive runs, aka 28 runs of 10 yards or more on 269 attempts. That is a 10.4 explosive run rate. Ray Davis, 13 explosive runs on 125 attempts. That's also a 10.4 explosive run rate, which I thought was hilarious. Like the same explosive run rate between Cook and Ray Davis. Very funny. James Cook, 48 missed tackles forced on the year. That's 0.18 missed tackles forced per attempt. Ray Davis, 30 missed tackles forced on the year. That is a 0.24 rate of missed tackles forced per attempt. So more missed tackles forced for Davis than Cook. I think that makes sense. He breaks more tackles, the lower center of gravity being a bit more bowling ballish in his nature. Lou says, not sure why my yards after contact per attempt are slightly different. Got mine from NFL Pro, which I believe pull from Next Gen. They do pull from Next Gen. And this is such a great point. Like there are certain things I use Next Gen for. There's certain things I use PFF for. There's certain things I use Sports Info Solutions for. And what's super annoying is they all like tend to track things differently. Sometimes it's like small. It's like somebody has somebody at 10.1 versus like 10.3. Others, it'll be like big. Like I've seen metrics where they'll have, this person's rate is 9.7 and another site will have the same rate and it's like 11.4. And I'm like, I don't understand how they get there. I know people who work in the NFL office and who work for some of these third-party metrics providers. And I've tried to figure out how and why, and they don't really know the answer either. So they're just kind of weird. I will say I trust Next Gen over anyone for everything. I was just gathering all these other advanced metrics from PFF that Next Gen didn't have for me. So I like to keep everything on an even scale, which is why I kind of kept it that way. And I also trust some of the stuff that Sports Info Solutions had. And then I was gathering other metrics from there. So I just tried to keep it as holistic as possible. But on the whole, I trust Next Gen more than anyone. But yeah, it is frustrating. You'll get different. Even the coverage ones are the biggest ones too, right? You'll be like, oh, how many times does a team, run cover 3? And it'll be like, 3 different sites, 3 different percentages, 17%, 18%, 13%. You're like, what? That shouldn't be different at all. And like 17 and 18 can be close. If it's like 1 or 2 percentage points, that can still, okay, that's negligible. But yeah, fair point. Sorry, not to get off on a tangent, but I don't know. I don't know if it's human error. I do actually know this answer. Some sites use humans to do the grading and the charting. Some sites use AI to do it, and they've taught them how to grade. They've taught the AI how to grade, and then they use AI to grade everything. So humans versus computers. We have a Skynet situation. Okay, so though James Cook and Ray Davis, explosive runs, missed tackles forced. Now, this next piece, James Cook and Ray Davis in 2024 versus neutral and light boxes. Neutral boxes are traditionally 7 defenders. Light boxes are quantified as 6 defenders or less. I picked that cutoff because heavy boxes, if you're playing at home, are you traditionally 8 defenders or more in the box. Ray Davis saw a lot of heavy boxes, not because teams are like, oh, Ray Davis is on the field, we got to load the box, but because he got some of that. James says we need analytics for the analytics. It's a brave new world. That's funny. I like that. Ray Davis saw carries in, I don't want to say garbage time, but essentially like end of game, run the clock out scenarios where you got some backups in there for the Bills, or you're just trying to run the clock out. And so you're just sitting there lining with a super condensed formation in a heavy look. Maybe one receiver's on the field split out wide, but the defense knows, hey, they're running the ball. Let's put 10 guys in the box. And you're just like, okay, here's a yard. Let's run off 40 seconds. Here's another yard. Let's run off 40 seconds. Oh, we lost 2 yards. Cool. We're running out 40 seconds. Boom. So Davis saw those context mattering carries, which also influenced his overall numbers. Like it's hard to see Cook and Davis and be like, oh, well, how come he didn't break more tackles? Like, well, it's hard to break tackles when you got like 10 defenders in the box and they know you're going to run the ball because there's a minute and 40 left on the clock, but the defense has 2 timeouts and the game is kind of done. Like, just that context matters. So I wanted to compare Cook and Ray Davis in 2024 versus neutral and light boxes because I thought that was more encompassing of, I don't want to say real game scenarios, but times when the game mattered more, if that makes sense. So attempts, again, Ray Davis, James Cook in 2024 versus neutral and light boxes, 7 defenders or less. 7 is neutral, light is 6 or less. Attempts, James Cook, 126 attempts. Ray Davis, 50 attempts. Oh, also, this is amongst 53 qualifying running backs. So James Cook's 126 attempts in this area was 25th out of 53 qualifying running backs. Ray Davis's 50 was last, 53rd out of 53 qualifying running backs. EPA per attempt, James Cook was 9th in EPA per attempt out of those 53 running backs versus neutral and light boxes, but Ray Davis was 19th, so 10 spots below. And from a point standpoint, not too crazy. James Cook was at positive 0.05. Ray Davis was positive 0.01. Yards per attempt, James Cook was 6th with 5.4 yards per attempt. Again, that speed makes a lot of difference, whether it's the gap scheme, the zone stuff. He churns up those free yards and open alleys and lanes very quickly. So Cook, 6th in yards per attempt at 5.4 yards. Ray Davis, 22nd at 4.8. So, a bit of a drop from 6th to 22nd, but, a little over a half yard difference. Again, I think that's due to the speed of Cook kind of making up for that. A stuff rate. A stuff is a run that goes for 0 or less yards. Cook, his stuff rate, 14.3%. That was 24th. The higher you are, the better. The higher the ranking, the better here, I should say. The higher the percentage, the worse you are. So Cook, 14.3%, which was 24th out of 53. Ray Davis, 24%. So 10 percentage points higher. That was 51st out of 53. But again, when are his runs coming? End of game scenarios, kind of people, even if it's in these end of game scenarios and they're not stacking the box, you kind of know the run is coming. So maybe you're getting a run blitz, maybe you're getting the defense selling out a little bit. So that still influences things a little bit here, but I do think the stuff rate or lack thereof for Cook is also indicative again of that speed because he churns out yards very quickly. And the decisiveness, he sees a hole, he gets it, he knows how to let the play develop, or he knows who to be. He's got that speed, he's confident in it, he's scheme diverse at this point, and a plus runner in both gap and zone. So really interesting piece there. Again, there's no heavy box numbers here. So Ray Davis being 51st out of 53 qualifying running backs, the stuff rate is very interesting. But again, I do think end of game scenario still impacted a bit, but that is one to note. Positive play rate. So these are runs that generate positive EPA, essentially runs that are a win for the offense. James Cook, 45.2%, which was 18th. Ray Davis, 46%, which was 14th. So Ray Davis is higher in this regard. Yards after contact per attempt. This is a good one for Lou if you're still watching. So this is per Sports Info Solutions. They had James Cook's yards after contact per attempt at 3.4. PFF had him at 3.3. So 0.1 difference. Fun. So yards after contact per attempt. James Cook, 8th at 3.4 per Sports Info Solutions. Ray Davis, 19th at 3.1. So, 0.3 difference. Not a huge difference there. 11 spots in the rankings, but the actual yards after contact per attempt is closer than the rankings indicate. But Cook finishing ahead of Davis. Again, a kudos to Cook, I think, improving this area, but this is also another one where I think you have the tackle breaking ability and the run through ability of Davis, but I think the speed will you kind of get that bowling ball where he'll kind of pinball off defenders and then kind of go down, where if Cook gets through a guy, that speed is kind of carrying him forward and propelling him forward. That juice is propelling him forward a little bit. They're just different running styles. I think Davis is actually shiftier and has more like kind of make a man miss in a phone booth capability, almost like Devin Singletary, not to that level, whereas Cook is more of a slasher And I always say he runs like a slalom style skier. But again, I think that speed, both the long speed and the short term juice and burst, make a difference in this area. So again, even when we're not talking heavy boxes, yards after contact per attempt, neutral and light boxes, Cook averages more than Davis. And that's with Cook seeing significantly more attempts. Again, 126 to Ray Davis's 50. Broken and missed tackles forced per attempt. Pretty similar here. Cook was at 16.7%, which is 23rd. Ray Davis was at 16%, which was 26th. And that's it for their numbers. So for those of you playing at home, I don't know. Lou says, yes, of course I'm still watching. You're so silly. I don't know, man. You could have tuned out. I don't know. I mean, there's other sports going on tonight. Nobody tell me anything that's going on because I avoid all spoilers for anything and everything. Baseball, basketball, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, so those are the advanced metrics kind of put things in perspective. So Cook, I think from an advanced metric standpoint, outperformed Davis in a lot of areas, but didn't outperform him to this crazy nth degree. It's not like Cook was 9th and Davis was 45th, or, these giant gaps in whether it was the actual metric itself or the ranking. There wasn't a huge discrepancy on a lot of them aside from, excuse me, the stuffed rate standpoint. I do like Ray Davis. I do think he's a very good rotational back. We'll see if he's built for more of a heavy workload this year, because I do think he is going to get more of a heavy workload. I think they're going to try and incorporate him more into the offense. And I do think he's a fit for kind of the downhill style of the Bills offense. And they want to continue to build more of this bully on offense, and they want to run through your face and run through your chest. Ray Davis is the guy for that. I think Cook started to add some of that to his game last year, but still kept the speed and the juice and the burst. And I think that is what is so intriguing to me with Cook, that I don't know, does he improve again this year with yards after contact per attempt? Does he continue to build on the physical nature of his game in terms of like the power? He's never going to be a power back, but you know what I mean? Like, does he continue to add more to the power game in addition, but he doesn't slack off in the speed? Because that's one thing, right? He started breaking more tackles and running through guys, but he felt slow or sluggish out there. He did not. Like, I don't know if it was a mentality standpoint or he added a little more weight or a little more muscle, a little more density to him. But man, like, I really do think he improved a lot last year from a physicality standpoint. And that is good in and of itself. But that paired with not losing the speed, that's scary. I just think he matters so much for this offense. Now, one thing that we didn't talk about, pass protection. Ray Davis is a better pass protector than James Cook. And from a pass protection standpoint, Cook really hasn't had, even just throughout his career, like a ton. So as a rookie in 2022, only 18, and this includes the playoffs, 18 pass blocking reps in 2022 as a rookie, 41 as a second-year player in 2023, but then only 14 in 2024. I think he improved as a pass protector. I still don't think he's there yet. You'll get, he's got, he against the Jets at home, he, hits his molly block and he reads, gets to the outside, checks inside, gets outside, sees Quincy Williams coming off the edge, hits him in the legs, flips him, torpedoes him, takes his legs out, and you're like, that's an awesome block. And then Leo Chenal, rushes in the AFC Championship game, and Cook tries to give him a shoulder. Chenal gets through, kind of heats up Allen. It's a bit of a mixed bag with him. I do think he has improved as a pass protector. I don't think he's ever going to be a plus pass protector. And that's just, for me, it's just because of the size and the frame that he has. He is not slender, but even just compared with like Davis and Ty Johnson, who are good examples, right? You've got guys who are stockier, a little more dense, different center of gravity in terms of where their weight is throughout their body and how they are proportioned, how they are built. So I don't think it's necessarily something that Cook's technique is going to have to be on point every single time when he pass protects, because he's going to be just by default. If some guy is blitzing and coming at you, right, you're going to be the nail more often than you're going to be the hammer. So your form has to be on point if you're not the biggest dude. Even if you are got some meat and some thickness to you, like, and some density, your form still has to be on point. So his technique is improved, but it's still not there yet. And then he doesn't have the margin for error because of how he's built in his frame. I think he's a willing blocker, and he reads his assignments. Like, you could see him key in and be all right. But I just think it's a missed bag. And he's had some really impressive pass pro reps the past couple of years. He's also had some really blah kind of ones. But I do think it's a significant part when you're talking about a guy that wants to get paid like a top 3 back or 5 back or top tier, however you want to quantify it. Like, you look at those dudes, like Saquon Barkley is a good pass protector. Christian McCaffrey is a good pass protector. Alvin Kamara isn't a stud pass protector, but he can carry and hold his own. Bijan Robinson is a good pass protector. I mean, he's not paid there yet, but he will be in a couple of years, if not next year. Like, that type of level, a true 3, quote unquote 3 down back, you need to be able to pass protect. And with Cook's ability as a receiver, I do think his lack of ability as a pass protector hinders the receiving ability, because when are you catching passes? On passing downs. So you need to be on the field for those passing downs. But can you be on the field if you're a liability potentially in pass protection? And then someone might say, like, that's fine, just don't have him pass protect, just send him out in routes. Fair. But then you're only running 5-man protections with your offensive line. That's how you can get gamed up. That's how you can get caught. If teams know you're going to be running a lot of 5-man protections, like, that type of predictability and tendency giveaway also hurts you a little bit. So it is something that plays into it. And I do think Davis is a fine pass protector. He's got the willingness. He's got the readability and in terms of scanning and figuring things out, assignment sound. I do think Cook is willing, and I do think Cook is assignment sound. They're just built differently physically. And I think Davis being heavier, shorter, a little more stocky, lower center of gravity, a little more dense in terms of how he's built and how he's proportioned, helps him kind of withstand the nail versus hammer type of aspect that occurs when running backs gets blitzed, or in general. James says the tree is glowing tonight, or it could be me. It does kind of look like it because the garland is gold and silver down there and then yellow up there. So it's like intensifying the lights, which is fair. RJ says Cook is kind of awful at pass pro. I won't say awful. I don't think he's a plus there. I think he's inconsistent, because there's some really great reps with him in pass pro, and there's also some really unfortunate ones. So he's just inconsistent. Which again, I think ties a lot into how he's built and his size and frame. A question here from John's Entertainment. Hey, Ant, do you see Brady doing some 2-back stuff this year? I would like that. I mean, they did it times last year. We saw like Ty Johnson and James Cook, but I would like more 2-back stuff. Give me any combination. Give me Cook and Ty. Give me Cook and Davis. Give me Davis and Ty, like, whatever. I'm a fan of good old pony personnel. Give me some 2-back stuff. Get creative. Again, one of the run games I loved, well, 2 of the run games I loved last year. I've talked about it on social a bunch. I've broken it down. I've shown a bunch of clips. The Buccaneers run game last year, and the Packers run game last year, very creative, especially from a gap scheme perspective. And they did a lot of cool stuff with 2-back sets, split gun. But just 2-back sets, with the Buccaneers, with Rashad White and Bucky Irving. And then the Packers really was Josh Jacobs and like a whole cast of dudes. It was other running backs. It was Jaden Reed back there. I would like the Bills to lean into some of that as another, give me more pistol, as I say every year, but little wrinkles of the offense this year. Give me more pistol and give me 2 things with the running backs. Give me more pony personnel, so 2 traditional running backs, and also give me more 21. I think Reggie Gilliam is underused, and I think he's a hammer as a blocker in the run game, and I want to see him more. James says 13 formation this year. I would also take 13 personnel. Give me 13 personnel with Kincaid out. I said this on the show before, with Kincaid split out wide, and then give me Knox and Hawes attached to the formation. And then while we're at it, let's go 6 offensive linemen. And then we're just going to maul the hell out of everybody. Or we'll go play action and see if somebody can run with Knox or run with Hawes, or who's covering Kincaid one-on-one outside. Give me that. Ralph says, do you think Davis can improve in the zone run scheme? Actually, I'm going to pull up some numbers here. Yeah, I think improvement in general is capable for, I don't want to say like everybody at all times, but I mean, even just look at what Cook was as a gap scheme runner in college versus what he is now. Like that ability to improve and develop, it's possible. And I think it translates to multiple schemes. It's just a matter of continuing to get those repetitions. I know this is going to sound like super kind of got to keep, getting time on task, got to keep building those reps, so on and so forth. But I do think it is an area where he can improve. And I'm pulling up his college stats. They're taking forever to load. But I do think he has the presence for it based off of, I'm trying to get these. Thank you. Finally, they loaded. Going to load Ray Davis's stats. Oh, you're not going to give me. Oh, why are you doing this to me? So terrible. There we go. Thank you. And this is what I thought. So in his college career, 456 zone runs compared to 280 gaps. So he had a good mixture of gap and zone, but he was more of a zone runner in college than he was a gap scheme runner, which is why, like, I think the improvement in zone is more just running those reps in the NFL, because it's not like he's unfamiliar with zone and doesn't know how to kind of press the line or watch a little bit. I do think him being creative a little bit more and or more decisive, just kind of taking more ownership of making things happen rather than just going with the play. But I think that involves more time on task, more confidence, more ability to feel like you have ownership at your spot rather than just being like, yo, I'm a rookie, let me do my job and just get in, get out type of deal. But I think he's a good zone runner. I think he's a good gap scheme runner. I think he's a good pass catching back and a good blocker. He does a lot of things well. He's above average at a lot of things. I don't know if he's a plus guy in any one area, but he's above average in a lot of he's above average to above average in a lot of ways. And I think he's comfortable in zone. It's just a matter of continuing to run him with that at the NFL level. And now I'm going to look up his NFL stats because I had them and then they went away. And then this year, I will say even decently balanced with the Bills as a rookie, 68 gap, 50 zone. So decent balance, almost close to 50-50, which is cool. Joe says, Ant, what is your thought on Cook against stacked boxes and whether or not that is another avenue for him to develop? I think he's good against stacked boxes. I have this in my notes too, out of 38 qualifying running backs, he was 12th in EPA per attempt at positive 0.01 against stack boxes, which again, not amazing, not terrible. For those of you playing at home, Ray Davis was 29th at negative 0.13. But again, it's different. Like when you're selling out and you kind of know what's coming versus what's not coming. What's also interesting though, Ray Davis's yards after contact per attempt versus stacked or heavy boxes, 2.7 yards after contact per attempt, which is 14th. James Cook, 2.3, which is 27th. So some fun pieces. I think Cook's a good running back in general. Like I think he feasts against light boxes. I think he's built for like a spread run game. Like 2x2, 3x1, let him take advantage of a 6-man box or a 5-man box if you can get it and just eat up that free yardage because of the space and the angles and the leverage. But I think he's a competent back in almost anything, like zone, gap, light box, neutral box, stack box. Again, he's not some hammer that, he's going to pound through and run through defensive tackles and guys like that. You want him working in a bit more space, but his speed is an advantage even with the heavy box, because if you're not gap sound or you get displaced as a defense, you might not have those guys on the back end who force him out of bounds and, turns this 10-yard run into an 11-yard run. Now, if you're stacking the box and he gets through that 10-yard run, becomes like a 40-yard touchdown or whatever it is, because there's nobody back there, playing safety net. But good question. Mm-hmm. Ryan says, I think the Cook can't block narrative is a weak talking point when it comes to whether or not we should pay him or not. or whether when it comes to whether we should pay him or not. I think it's valid because it's something that he needs to improve. And it like I mentioned, it's tied to his receiving value. Like part of why I loved Cook coming out of Georgia was I was like, oh man, what he can be as a runner, but what he can be as a pass catcher. And I still don't even think they've unleashed him as like a pass catcher because he can run actual routes. But you're just limited a bit if you're having him out there on third down and he's not going to be pass protecting. Like that means again, are you just running 5-man protections? Are you keeping a tight end in to chip or near the line? Okay, are you going to have him chip at all or not do anything? All of those things lead to certain things from a tendency standpoint. There's only certain formations you can get into. There's only so many looks you can get into. And then the concepts you can get into off of that. And then the defense picking up on that, they know, like, it's more of kind of like, you never want the defense to know, like, oh, if they do this, only 2 things can happen. You want them to be like, man, if they do this, 25 things could happen. If Cook can't block or he's a liability or you're not going to use him as that blocker, you could still use him as a pass catcher, but it just limits the menu of what you can do. And then you become a little more predictable and there's a little more tendency and tells that are available to a defense. That's where it comes from for me. I also think that's where it comes from in the league, but to each their own. Lou says, Cook is a willing blocker, but his form has always been, I'll say, spotty. Because he lunges and gets off balance with it, he's prone to mistakes, and that means unreliable. I think that's fair. And again, because of how he's built, his size and frame, you don't have any margin for error, and that puts him at a disadvantage. What else? Claude says, if you have a running back who can't block, Spags is just going to send one more than you can handle to blow up a critical play. That's kind of what was in my head as I was speaking. That's fair. What else? Ryan says, hopefully Anderson replaces Edwards as left guard, as well as Torrance taking another step so our O-line improves even more. Us using 6 linemen last year skewed performance of our O-line more positively. I think the O-line was still good, even just with the 5-man stuff. And the 6th offensive lineman stuff is super deadly because how do you match that if you're a defense? Especially considering the Bills have athletic pass-catching tight ends who you can hip off, and you can have Alec Anderson be that inline guy. But I think they're I don't think they're using 6 linemen kind of skewed. I think it helped to kind of put more emphasis on the O-line. But even when it was just a 5 O-line on the field with 12 personnel or 11 in a traditional sense, they were still moving guys. Like they have a very competent, good offensive line. Oh, good comment here from Claude saying the problem is with Cook. It's with the position he plays, and it's glut of talent. Breece Hall and Kenneth Walker don't have second contracts either. That's a very fair point. Oh, John says Cook's probably the most controversial player since Tremaine Edmonds. Oh, yeah. Maybe he might be right now. Oh, that's a fun one. You might be right. I'm trying to think of anybody else that maybe Keon Coleman. Just from what I see from people, I think some people are super high on him. Some people are like, "Oh, he's terrible. We made a mistake." Yeah, but Cook is a fair one. Fair shot. Ryan says in regards to Cook, but they also don't use him ever. He's a willing blocker. More reps will help make you better. I think that's fair, but it's always just that balance of getting a guy time on task to make him better versus how much does it hurt you in the moment and make you vulnerable in the moment. I think that's the type of thing. But a fair point there, Ryan. Oh, everybody in the chat saying Diggs. Oh, I was talking about like right now, like on the team right now. Yeah, if we're talking like since Edmonds in total, yeah, it's Stephon Diggs. I mean, Diggs is probably more a different type of controversial than Edmonds. Well, yeah, but it would 1,000% be Stephon Diggs. I thought we were talking about just like who's on the team right now, which I guess I read that wrong. Yeah, it would be Stephon Diggs. Not even close. Oh, Ryan says, well, we're lucky to have Cromer, who's the best offensive line coach in the league. Never let him go. Man, there's several really good O-line coaches. Stoutland in Philly, Andy Heck in Kansas City. You've got Cromer. There's a bunch of really good O-line coaches. Cromer is legit. Like, you could make a case for Cromer being the best. And even if not, he's still like, it's because like, oh, he's a 9.7 out of 10, but there's several dudes that are like 9.8s and 9.9s. Like, Cromer's so good. Yeah, absolutely tremendous. Really good thought there. You know what else is really good? One Pie Pizza. The best pizza, Buffalo, New York. If you live in Buffalo and you have not gotten yourself some One Pie Pizza, you are doing yourself a disservice. That's right, disservice. Homemade sauce, sweet sauce pie, homemade blue cheese, a great cheese to sauce ratio, cup and char pepperoni, fantastic toppings that if you want to get like different veggies and different stuff on that on pizza, if that's your thing, they chop them up evenly and sprinkle them across the pie evenly so you get that even distribution across the board. It is just next level pizza when it comes to One Pie Pizza. And if you've not gotten yourself some One Pie Pizza, you're doing yourself a disservice. And while I was speaking about how awesome One Pie Pizza is, I wanted to look up, because I talk about it a lot, but I wanted to look up the pizza that they named after us. I don't really talk about the ingredients a lot because I like to be surprised, but the Cover One Allen Goat, so it's half named after Josh Allen, half named after Cover One. It's their homemade red sauce, topped with goat cheese, chicken fingers, mozzarella cheese, red onion, and bacon. And it's absolutely amazing. Or you can just get a traditional cheese and pepperoni or a cheese pie or get some veggies. They'll chop them up evenly, sprinkle them across. You get the Allen Goat, the Cover One Allen Goat. It's amazing. The homemade blue cheese is amazing. They also do catering options now. Their catering division is called Elevated Catering of Buffalo. I had them do an event for me literally 2 weekends ago, not this past weekend, like a couple days ago, the weekend prior. Out of this world. Like this coconut rice with chicken and multiple kinds of mac and cheeses. Their salads were on point. The pizza I got, of course, because of course, just man, they do a lot of amazing options. They also do a breakfast pizza now, which is absolutely crazy good. Like, go get yourself some One Pie Pizza. Online menu for them and for Elevated Catering of Buffalo can be found in the episode show notes, whether here on YouTube or whichever podcasting app or platform you're listening to this show on. So if you have not already gotten yourself some One Pie Pizza or even Elevated Catering of Buffalo, check out both of those things. I said, and I'm not saying it just because they sponsor the show. Like, the food is amazing, and they're really good people. I talk about it all the time. They donate to a multitude of charities and foundations in the city of Buffalo and the surrounding community at large. They're really good people making really good food. Go get yourself some One Pie Pizza and some Elevated Catering of Buffalo while you are at it. Oh, I like this. I was skydiving this weekend in Albion and stopped for One Pie for the first time. It was great. I wish I could get it more often, but I'm from Jamestown. I really like this. Thank you very much for this comment. I tell them all the time, but people, I forget all the RJ in the comments is always like, can they have a Rochester location? And someone's like, can they put one in Toronto or put one in Canada somewhere? Yeah, man. They should expand. They're fantastic. The food is great. I don't deny it. Oh, that's funny with Lou talking about like your comment about Cromer there, Lou, and then John saying just don't steal his beach chair. Oh, wow. John says if you had to choose 3-year extension at $15 million a year for McGovern or for Cook. Wow. Hold on. I want to check. I want to check center contracts. So Connor McGovern getting $15 million a year at center would make him the third highest paid center in the NFL. Creed Humphrey is first at $18 million a year. Cam Jurgens is second at $17 million. And then Drew Dahlman was signed by the Bears this offseason. He's third at $14 million. Oh, I don't really want to do either of those. But I would prefer I would prefer to have Connor McGovern back. Oh, that's a tough one though, just because I don't like the money for either. I think it's an overpay for either. I'd rather give McGovern like I don't want to give McGovern 15 a year. I want to take that money and give McGovern like 11 million a year. And then I want to give the other for a 1-year, $4 million contract to like a wide receiver. That's what I want to do. I'm going to cheat. Sorry. Oh, Joe says the first time I try One Pie, which will hopefully be in the fall, will be a top tier moment. It's going to be one of my first spots to hit. You better get it. Also, if you're going to come here in the fall, you better hit me up when you're here. But, to each their own. If you don't have time, I get it. I'm just one of the little people, but it's fine. Go get yourself some one pie pizza. It will change it will forever. Oh my, yeah, hiccups. What is going on here? It will forever change you. Forever change you. Oh, Lou says, if those are my choices in Cromer, I trust that I'm paying. Oh my God, I'm hiccuping like crazy. I got to end this show. In Cromer, I trust that I'm paying Cook, but I don't like either. Yeah. Yeah, McGovern for 15 and Cook for 15. I don't like either of those for 15. I'm legitimately torn because I don't like either. Yeah, I'm torn. I'm gonna cheat and give that answer that I cheated with. That was really tough, John. Power to you for giving a real tough one as we kind of end here. Oh my God. All right, that one was crazy. I gotta go. I'm throwing up the banners as Toodles, folks, because I can't stop hiccuping, and this is crazy. Hold on. I'm gonna take a drink of water so I can struggle my way through this. Thank you to everybody who tuned in to this episode. I really hope I don't hiccup again. I'm like legitimately dreading it. Appreciate everybody who tuned in live. I know we're in the slow point of the offseason, so I appreciate everybody who tuned in to not have me be alone on the show on a Tuesday night. And again, apologies for I thought hiccup was going to come. Apologies for not doing a show last week. I will be doing some extra episodes of Disguise coverage this week, next week, in some form or fashion to be making up for everything so that you still get the episode quantity and quality, of course, that you should be getting with this show. Sorry, I took a breath to make sure I wouldn't hiccup again. So keep on the lookout for that. Again, I don't have it locked in terms of scheduling and planning. It's more just when I can fit them in. So you'll see some not last minute, but you'll see some social posts on Blue Sky, on Twitter. I'll kind of just put them out, put the episode. You obviously get the notifications here on YouTube and on the audio platforms for that stuff. So I'll put that out as soon as I can. Got some more individual player profiles. Probably going to do some stuff with some film. I see Claude. Claude says, great show, and hold your breath. Yeah, but then if I hold my breath and everybody's just watching me hold my breath, like, I don't know what I'm going to do. But I appreciate you. Oh, that's really nice, John. Thank you very much for that. I don't like to pull up positive stuff when I'm by myself because I feel like it's corny to just be like, oh, look at this nice thing somebody said about me. Look at me. But I see all these nice comments that are coming through from everybody, and I appreciate them a lot. Thank you very much from everyone in general. But yeah, I like that one, John. That means a lot. I like that specific kind of feedback, and that is something I'm cognizant of. So thank you very much for that. But yeah, thank you to everybody who tuned in live for this episode. If you have not already, whether you're watching live now or watching later, please, and thank you, drop a like on this video. Likes are the lifeblood of these streams. So if you have not already, please drop a like on this video here on YouTube. If you're listening on one of the podcasting apps or platforms, please rate, review, and subscribe. Turn on notifications for the Disguise Coverage playlist here on YouTube. Check out all the other content across the entire Cover One channel and brand. And yeah, that's a good one, Ralph. Ralph says, Josh got put on IR, all caps with an exclamation point. He said, did I scare the hiccups away? I don't know if the scaring one has ever worked for me. I've had to do the hold my breath one, and sometimes it works. But the scaring one, I don't think has ever worked for me. Although I don't think I've kind of known that someone's going to try and scare me, so it hasn't worked. But this conversation for another time. Appreciate everybody who tuned into this episode live, later, audio only, YouTube, whatever form or fashion your episode consumption comes in. I am greatly appreciative of it and thankful for it. Tell your family and friends and loved ones about the show, about this episode. If you enjoyed it, if you hated this episode, tell your enemies and try and make them watch this episode so that it will ruin their day. I greatly appreciate you folks. If you have any questions, thoughts, comments, concerns, get at me in the comments here on YouTube or get at me on Twitter at pro__ant. That's pro 2_ ANT. Or get at me on Blue Sky at proant. That no underscores there, just PROANT. Questions, thoughts, comments, concerns, anything and everything you got. Feel free to get at me on social, DM me, at me. Get at me in the Discord. If you are a Cover One insider, DM me is the best way to get at me for that because I'm in a million channels and I get lost in the sauce all the time there. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. Enjoy the rest of your week. I appreciate you folks more than you will know. And I hope you and your family and friends and loved ones are all doing well and staying safe, especially in today's day and age in this world. Be kind to one another. Please take care of one another. Please, I will see you when I see you. Godspeed. And as always, go Bills.